Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a really fascinating forensic file, one that overlays one of the most famous modern mysteries with texts written literally thousands of years ago. We are going to look at a highly documented historical event, but through a completely unexpected lens. I'm thrilled you're here because this is exactly the kind of structured, visually driven exploration that's going to make you rethink how we categorize the unexplained. So here's the big question. Can ancient Indian astrology, specifically the Vedic tradition, actually explain the most famous mass-witnessed UFO sighting in American history? I know, it sounds like a total paradox, right? Like, how on earth could star charts mapped out millennia ago have anything to do with an anomaly in the modern American Southwest? Well, as you're gonna see, the overlap between the specific planetary transits of that night and the ancient definitions of aerial cities is, well, it's nothing short of astonishing. Section 1, the 1997 Enigma. Okay, let's dive right into this. To understand the ancient code, we first have to establish the modern facts. Let's ground this event chronologically. Picture this. It's the night of March 13th, 1997, and the sky over Arizona basically becomes the stage for something completely inexplicable. The initial sightings kick off around 2015 hours. Fast forward to 2200 hours, and thousands of people are staring up at these incredibly bright, stationary lights hovering right over the city of Phoenix. By 2230, the whole event wraps up, leaving a totally bewildered public and a massive media frenzy in its wake. But what exactly did they see during that 2-hour window? The physical characteristics reported by thousands of eyewitnesses were incredibly consistent. People described a gigantic, geometric V shape. And it wasn't zipping around like your typical sci-fi flying saucer, you know? It moved incredibly slowly. And perhaps the most eerie detail of the whole shebang, absolute silence. A massive object literally blocking out the stars, gliding over a major metropolitan area without making a single sound. It just completely defied conventional logic and physics. Section 2, the Vedic astrological key. Now we're going to pivot. We are putting away the modern aeronautical manuals for a minute and bringing out a completely unexpected forensic tool. According to the source analysis, the key to understanding the Phoenix lights isn't found in the ascendant of that night. It's actually in the lunar nodes, specifically Rahu and Ketu. In 1997, Rahu and Ketu were transiting on the exact axis of Virgo and Pisces. Now, this specific axis is known in Vedic astrology for phenomena that are invisible, difficult to classify, or basically extra-dimensional. Rahu in Virgo acts like a giant amplifier for collective events that defy logic, while Ketu in Pisces represents the cosmic ocean, deep mystery, and the dissolution of boundaries. So the crucial point here is Ketu in Pisces. In the Vedic tradition, this placement is the signature for the formless, that which appears and disappears and fundamentally just does not belong to earthly matter. This is the exact astrological signature that ancient texts associate with non-human appearances in the sky. It's kind of like the baseline ingredient for an extra-dimensional manifestation. Section 3, Saturn, Ketu, and Mars. But hey, Ketu wasn't acting alone that night. To understand why this phenomenon looked the way it did, we have to add the other planetary players into our cosmic recipe. And this brilliantly illustrates the heart of the mystery. The one-to-one correlation here is just staggering. Saturn was in Pisces, right alongside Ketu. Now, Saturn represents structure, mass, and silence. When you combine that with Ketu, it perfectly produces that massive, dark, silent geometric V shape that people reported. Meanwhile, Mars was hanging out in a fire sign which activates high-energy, bright, sudden lights, which is exactly matching the intense stationary lights seen at 22 hours. Finally, Rahu in Virgo ensured this wasn't just some isolated event, but a mass collective perception. If you remember just one concept from this entire astrological breakdown, make it this. Saturn gives the form. Ketu makes it non-terrestrial. It's a really profound synthesis. The structure that thousands of people saw, that was Saturn at work. But the fact that it seemingly glided silently out of another dimension, that was all Ketu. Section 4, the ancient aerial cities. Now this brings us to a part of the analysis that, frankly, gives me chills. We're going to look at the specific ancient text that seems to have documented this exact type of phenomenon long before 1997. The source points us to a Sanskrit term, Gandharva Nagara. Let's demystify this a bit. It roughly translates to aerial cities. These are defined as luminous, orderly structures in the sky that clearly do not belong to Earth. And to be clear, they aren't described as natural weather events like weird clouds or auroras. They're described as distinct, structured, luminous formations. Consider this description from chapter 36 of the ancient text known as the Bṛhat Saṁhitā. Aerial cities, luminous structures in the sky, silent, not belonging to Earth, appearing as orderly formations. I mean, think about what we covered just a few minutes ago regarding the eyewitness accounts over Phoenix. The description from millennia ago is practically identical to what was witnessed in 1997, a silent, orderly, luminous structure in the sky. But wait, there's an even more astonishing detail hidden in that ancient text. The Bṛhat Saṁhitā specifies a geographic and symbolic condition. It states that for this type of geometric, non-natural structure to truly affect the people and alter collective perception, it must appear in the West. And look at the reality of 1997. Phoenix, Arizona is decidedly in the west of the American continent. It's a perfect symbolic and geographic overlap that neutrally validates the source's astrological argument. Section 5, a paradigm shift. Let's move to and see how this builds from a mere physical sighting into some deep philosophical meaning. What does this ancient code actually tell us about the purpose of such an event? According to the Vedic interpretation, an event like the Phoenix Lights is widely misunderstood by our modern fear-based media. This wasn't an alien invasion, nor was it just a random weather phenomenon or, a lost military flare. It is categorized as a threshold event. Think of it as an energetic crossing of boundaries, a temporary dissolution of the veil between dimensions, allowing something formless to temporarily take shape right up there in our sky. Let's quickly recap that unique energetic blueprint that allowed this threshold event to happen. It was basically a perfect cosmic storm. Saturn stepped in to create the undeniable physical structure, Mars fired up to provide the intense light, Ketu drove the dissolution of that dimensional veil, and Rahu ensured collective amplification, basically guaranteeing that thousands of people in a major city would look up at the exact same time. So why does any of this matter? Well, because the ancient texts didn't just predict what these aerial cities would look like, they predicted what they would do to us. The Bṛhat Saṁhitā states that such appearances modify collective perception, they open up deep questions about human origins, and they spark a cultural paradigm shift. And honestly, looking back, after 1997, the Phoenix Lights became one of the most discussed and investigated cases in the world, completely shifting the global conversation around extra-dimensional phenomena. Which leaves us with this final, burning question. Knowing what we now know about the precise alignment of Saturn, Ketu, Mars, and Rahu, and matching it against those ancient descriptions of the Gandharva Nagara, was the 1997 anomaly just a random sighting? Or was it a perfectly timed moment of dimensional interference, literally written into the astrological code thousands of years before it happened? It certainly makes you wonder what else is hiding in plain sight in the ancient text, just waiting for the exact right alignment to appear in our skies. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep looking up and keep asking questions.